everyone, and welcome to the first episode of EverUpwardShow, a high noon production. I am your host, Blevins, and I'm going to be joining you every week right here to talk about New York Excelsior. So I wanted to do this very first episode just to kind of show you what I'm going to be doing, tell you a little bit about what my plans for the show are, and how you guys can help the show out. So let's just jump right into it. So normally this show is going to be live. It's going to be over twitch.tv/High Noon Podcast, just like all the other High Noon productions. And it's going to be a show that is dedicated, of course, to the New York Excelsior. It is going to definitely be a biased fan show. Don't come here expecting me to give you unbiased opinions and analysis. This is a very fan-focused, New York Excelsior-focused show. If you want less biased stuff, go check out the flagship show, High Noon Podcast. So for this episode, I'm just going to talk to you a little bit about what I plan on doing, and I'll talk to you a little bit about what happened with New York Excelsior these past few weeks, as I haven't done episodes yet. So first and foremost, I want to go over the weekly results of New York Excelsior during the Overwatch League week, as well as I want to cover some of the XL2 matches. Maybe not go super in depth on those matches. That's going to be a Blackwatch report, to go in depth on those matches, but definitely talking about some of the key points from the contenders matches, as well as some of the high level stuff with New York Excelsior matches. I want to go over the stuff that happens on the New York Excelsior subreddit, as well as in the greater Reddit and Overwatch League community. If there is stuff that you find that's New York Excelsior specific, and you want to post it on Reddit, go over to the New York Excelsior Reddit. I believe it's r/NYXL, if I had to guess. I want to also answer any of your guys' questions. I'm going to set up a channel in High Noon Podcast Discord. It's at discord.me/High Noon Podcast. That's specifically for this show, EverUpwardShow. If you have questions for me about NYXL and Overwatch related stuff to NYXL, throw them there. I want to answer your questions and get your feedback, so we can do that there. And then just in general, any sort of suggestions or feedback that you have are going to be super helpful for me. I'm basically pulling the show. I want to get it started. I want to get it up and running so that I've got something to go off of. But it's, by all means, it is absolutely a living show. I don't have anything set in stone other than it's going to be about the New York Excelsior. So if there's stuff that you want to see, or there's segments maybe that you'd like to see done, by all means, let me know in the Discord. Let me know on Twitter. The Twitter handle is right down there, at EverUpwardShow on Twitter, or you can hit me up on High Noon Podcast or _Blevins. I want to go over everything on the New York Excelsior official channels. So if it's the YouTube channel, if it's the Twitter, if it's any of the content that they're going, I want to talk about that. Not necessarily going in and analyzing the stuff, because this doesn't really make sense to do to analyze the background stories, but just kind of run down what has come out, maybe not necessarily the content of it, because that's what you guys should definitely be watching that, because it's a lot of really good stuff. The Q&As that they do, I actually just a live Q&A in the New York Excelsior Discord just happened. I want to go through those and maybe pull some of the meaty stuff. I mean, obviously not like what's your favorite Doritos flavor. To me, that's not interesting. But if that is the type of thing that you want to see, let me know. I want to keep it as much team focused as possible. So that I definitely want to go over that and condense those, because those are hard to catch if you're not there at the time. I also want to do, I'd love to do interviews with staff and players, coaches, people involved in the greater NYXL community. I'd love to have people come on here. If you are a content creator or a community analyst, or someone in the Overwatch League community that is either working with NYXL or does something with NYXL or is just a big fan of NYXL, reach out to me. I'd love to have you on the show, and I'd love to get your input on the show as well. I'm I'm not necessarily locked into having this be just a me thing in terms of hosting, so I'm definitely open to hearing feedback and whatnot. And then, of course, just general team news I want to go over as well. One big thing in terms of people in the NYXL community, I want to give a huge shout out to NYXL _Venoms on Twitter, or the Great Root Bear, who runs the watch events in New York City over at the Waypoint Cafe. I have a relationship with Great Root Bear. He's been on my show. I'm going to be doing some stuff, not announcing anything yet, but I'm going to be doing some stuff there at some point, hopefully. So I'm going to be kind of tapping into that resource as well, because that's basically the hub for live viewing events for NYXL, and obviously they're in New York City. 8 hours away, unfortunately, but still in New York, so consider myself a, born and bred New York Excelsior fan, even though I wasn't born in New York, but that's okay. I've lived here 99% of my life. So that's basically what I have planned for the show. That's what I want to do. Again, your feedback and suggestions are of the utmost importance. It's going to be extremely, extremely, extremely useful, and it's really going to help me make the show that you guys want to listen to. So definitely let me know there. So before I go into the results and what NYXL has done the last couple of weeks, I want to just really quickly go over where we're going to be able to find this show. So over at the High Noon Podcast YouTube, it's going to be just on the normal High Noon Podcast YouTube, youtube.com/High Noon Podcast. It'll probably have its own it will definitely have its own playlist. This first episode will be on the High Noon podcast feed. So if you're subscribed to High Noon Podcast on iTunes or your favorite podcast place, it will be there for the first episode, and then it will have its own feed. So keep an eye out for EverUpward or EverUpwardShow. I'll definitely announce it. Maybe this episode and the next one will probably be on the main feed, and then I will announce the exact details of the feed for the next one. So, and then SoundCloud, all the places that you can find High Noon Podcast, this show will also be. So, if you guys have any questions, always feel free to reach out to me on Discord. But let's move into what NYXL actually did. So a quick recap of last stage. So stage one, the last week of stage one, they won 3-0 versus the Florida Mayhem, won 3-2 versus London Spitfire to end the regular season portion of the stage. So they finished the stage 9-1. That's good for first place going into stage two. And then the playoffs happened, and of course, we lost the tearjerker reverse sweep in the finals of the stage to London Spitfire. Really, really amazing matches played that day. If you haven't had a chance to check out both of the London Spitfire matches from the end of stage one, absolutely recommend that you do that. It's just good Overwatch, probably some of the best Overwatch you'll see. And then this week we saw a 3-1 victory versus Florida Mayhem. A little bit rough here because Arc not in the lineup, has a wrist injury. Mono ended up having to play support, and then Janice got the full-time main tank slot here. So that was obviously a big one. We weren't really sure how we were going to see Arc fit into this new meta. We know he plays Lucio traditionally, so not really worried there, but obviously having one of your main tanks on support is not the best place to be as well. We saw Sebayobi really do well in terms of fantasy points. If you guys play fantasy, he was a really big pick this week, and we saw a little bit more Pine than we normally would be used to seeing. So we're definitely going to have to keep an eye on what New York is doing with Pine going into this stage, and where we're going to be able to expect to see him, what maps we're going to be expecting to see him, what types of maps we're going to be expecting to see him, or if he just gets more playing time because he gets more comfortable on the stage. He's said that, you know, there's some jitters maybe and a lot of pressure put on him, and rightfully so. That can definitely be tough for people to get through. So I always want to see more Pine. He's a very explosive and a very exciting player to watch, and he's one of my favorite. I know he's a lot of your guys' favorites too. So nice to see more Pine going forward. So next week, what we have is on Thursday, we've got a match against the Boston Uprising, which looked a little bit more like the Boston Downfalling last week, but that does not mean that we can take them lightly. I expect this to be a close match, maybe not super close. I think we do have this one in the bag, but it will be a close one, and it can't be one that we can just overlook. And then on Saturday, we've got the death match here, the High Noon Podcast Showdown versus Houston Outlaws. This one is going to be super, super close. I imagine this one's a 3-2. Obviously, I'm picking NYXL to win here. I think they are just mechanically better. I think, I really hate to say it, but I think a lot of the result here might hinge on whether Arc is here or not, and I don't want that to be the case. I do hope that maybe NYXL does pick up a couple extra players at some point to fill in case something like this happens. We don't necessarily want Mono to have to play a role he's not. That he wasn't brought on to play. So I think at full staff, New York Excelsior does have an advantage here. If we see Mono on support again with no Arc this week, I think it's going to be a very hard fought battle. I do still think we have it in us to win, and obviously going to be hoping that happens. What's worth noting is that on Saturday, if you're in the New York City area, like I mentioned, NYXL 5 Deadly Venoms is going to be hosting a view party for that one. Not for the Boston match on Thursday because it's at 11 p.m. Eastern, but the Saturday match versus Houston, that is going to be live at the Waypoint Cafe. Follow at NYXL_Venoms on Twitter for all of the event information. And if you have problems finding it, you can find me either on Twitter or on Discord. But that's going to be it for this episode, guys. This is a short one, probably going to be a little bit longer normally, probably in the maybe 15 to 20 minute range. Again, based on what you guys want to see and what we have to talk about each week. I'm not going to force anything in either shorter or longer, in the shorter or longer direction. Just going to kind of roll with it. But, before we go, just wanted to say, obviously huge shout outs to the Overwatch League, huge shout outs to NYXL. Follow both of those on Twitter. Follow at NYXL_Venoms on Twitter if you are in the New York City area, or if you're just interested in seeing the view parties or anything, definitely follow them. Follow all the players. Follow at EverUpwardShow. Follow at High Noon Podcast. Follow at _Blevins on Twitter. You'll get all the NYXL stuff that you could ever want or need. And, of course, everything that we do here at the High Noon Productions is found over at highnoonpodcast.com. But that is going to be it, guys. I don't have an outro for this show yet, so if you have any ideas for that, let me know. But we'll see you guys next week, and remain ever upward. No, I don't know. I'll think of something better than that, but that's going to be it, guys. Bye-bye.